All right, so you know that feeling, right?
Yeah.
When like some big new tech thing hits the scene and everyone's all
Oh, yeah.
trying to figure out what it all means.
Totally.
Like, is it the end of the world, or is this, the next best thing since sliced bread? And that's where I think a lot of us are with AI, right? It's
Yeah.
everywhere you look, everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, it's like inescapable right now.
Exactly. And it's not just, tech folks anymore. It's artists, it's writers, it's, my mom asking me if her job's about to disappear.
Right. It's impacting every industry, it feels like.
And that's kind of what we're diving into today. We're looking at a conversation between Rob and Adam from Opace Digital.
Okay, Opace.
Yeah. They're an AI agency and consultancy based in the UK, so they're like right in the thick of it,
Yeah, they're living and breathing AI.
Day in and day out, yeah. And, these guys are having some pretty frank discussions about AI, not just the shiny, happy stuff, but the real nitty-gritty, the anxieties, the potential downsides.
The implications?
Yeah, exactly. The implications of it all. So we've gone through their conversation, we've highlighted some of their key points, and now we're going to unpack their perspectives. And I think, in doing so, we're going to give you a bit of a shortcut.
A roadmap.
Yeah, a roadmap to, understanding where they're coming from and maybe even figuring out where you stand on this whole AI thing. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, right off the bat, Rob acknowledges the disdain, he calls it, that surrounds AI, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't shy away from it.
No, not at all. He kind of jumps right in and says, look, there are legitimate concerns here. And that really resonated with me because, we're not trying to sugarcoat things here.
Right.
There are some valid anxieties about AI, and Ripe kind of owns that.
He validates that feeling, yeah, which is a good starting point, right? It's like he's saying, I get it, I understand where you're coming from.
Exactly. And then he dives into two main points, I would say. The first one being the whole ethical issue of how these AI models are trained.
The data, yeah.
The data. Exactly.
Okay.
Because so much of the data comes from places where the creators haven't given explicit permission.
Right. Copyright issues, all of that.
Yeah, it's a bit of a gray area right now. But here's where Rob offers, I think, a more optimistic outlook. He sees this as a solvable problem.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
He believes that as regulations catch up, as the market matures, the ethically trained models are going to become the dominant force.
Okay, so he's not necessarily dismissing the concern,
No.
but he's saying it's not a deal breaker.
Right. He sees it as a challenge that the industry can and, in his view, will overcome.
Do you buy that? Do you think that's a realistic perspective?
I mean, it's certainly more hopeful than a lot of the conversations I've heard about AI ethics.
Yeah, a lot of doom and gloom out there.
Right. But his second concern, now this one I think hits closer to home for a lot of people. It's the job displacement.
Oh, yeah, the big one.
The big one. And Rob's very upfront about it. He says jobs are definitely at risk because AI is becoming more and more capable. And from a business perspective, cheaper? Way cheaper. Like if you can get a machine to do something for a fraction of the cost and it can do it faster and maybe even better in some cases, why wouldn't a business, go that route?
Right. It's a purely economic decision at that point.
And Rob uses this really interesting example to illustrate just how fast AI is developing. He talks about how for a while, AI had a lot of trouble rendering hands.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those like weird AI-generated hands are creepy.
Right. Like fingers all messed up, just looking very unnatural. And it was a big hurdle for a long time. But then, relatively quickly,
They cracked it.
Like, AI can now create realistic-looking hands.
Yeah.
And Rob's point is that the things AI struggles with today, those limitations, they're probably temporary.
Right. So what seems impossible today might be completely commonplace tomorrow.
Exactly. And that's kind of the scary part, right? Because if it can figure out something as complex as a hand, what else is it going to figure out in the next year? The next 5 years?
So then what's Rob's answer to all this? What are we supposed to do?
Well, he's not saying we should, hide under our desks and wait for the AI apocalypse. His solution is actually to get involved.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. He's like, dabble with it. Learn its strengths. Learn its weaknesses.
Get to know your potential overlord.
Yeah, kind of. But his idea is that by understanding AI, by integrating it into your work, you can actually maintain some control over it.
So not just passively accepting it, but actively shaping how it's used.
Exactly. He even has this call to action. Secure dominance over the AI. Like, don't let it dominate you. Figure out how to use it to your advantage.
I like that. It's a proactive approach. It's empowering.
It is. And I think when you look at Rob's overall perspective, it's really grounded in this idea of employability, right? Like, how do we stay relevant in a job market that's rapidly being transformed by AI. And he's offering some pretty practical advice, I think. Now, Adam, he comes at this from a slightly different angle.
Okay, how so?
Well, Adam's a little more, I would say, impatient maybe. He's definitely got a stronger emotional reaction to what he sees as this, like, illogical negativity around AI.
So less of a measured analysis, more of a gut reaction.
Yeah, kind of. And he jumps right into this classic analogy. Cars replacing horses.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one.
Right. Like, back in the day, people were probably freaking out about cars. Oh, these horseless carriages, they're dangerous. They're going to put us all out of work. And Adam's point is resisting progress.
It's a losing battle.
It always is. Think about, the printing press. People were afraid of that. Or the internet. There's always this initial fear of new technology.
Because it's disruptive, right? It changes things, and change can be scary.
And Adam doesn't stop there. He argues that ultimately, most people, when it comes down to it, they care more about convenience and the quality of a product than the ethical concerns raised by a smaller, more vocal group.
So, like, he's saying we might talk a good game about ethics,
right?
But our actions often tell a different story.
Exactly. And he uses Amazon and Tesla as examples. Like, these companies have faced a lot of criticism.
For sure.
But they're still wildly successful. People are still buying their products, using their services. And Adam's point is that, yeah, there might be some noise online about ethical issues, but that doesn't always translate into real change in consumer behavior.
It's a pragmatic perspective, right? He's looking at the reality of the market.
He is. And he also touches on this idea that there's a certain, like, cool factor to being negative about new tech.
Oh, interesting.
Like, it's almost trendy to be a contrarian. And again, it doesn't quite say it outright, but he's kind of implying that some of the AI criticism might be driven more by that, that desire to be seen as edgy or insightful.
Rather than a genuine, deep-seated concern.
Right. And then he brings up this point that I thought was really interesting. He talks about the hypocrisy of people who are worried about AI taking creative jobs, but then, they pirate music and movies.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right. Like, if you're worried about artists losing their livelihood because of AI, but you're not even paying for their work in the first place.
It's a bit of a contradiction.
It is. And I think Adam's overall message, and he's not subtle about it, is that we need to adapt. The world is changing. AI is part of that change. And expecting the world to stop and cater to your resistance is, in his view, a recipe for getting left behind.
It's a tough love message, but maybe a necessary one.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And, despite his maybe more forceful tone, I think Adam actually echoes a lot of what Rob is saying.
In terms of embracing the change.
Exactly. They're both saying, get on board, this is happening. Now, let's take a step back and look at their arguments critically, right? Because we presented them, but we also want to offer our own analysis.
Absolutely.
So Rob's concerns about the ethical implications of AI training data, I think those are very valid. And his hope for solutions through regulation, that's something I think a lot of people are counting on, right?
Yeah, it's a common hope. We see it with a lot of emerging technologies. Can a regulation rein in the potential harms?
And his point about job displacement, I mean, that's huge. It's a worry for so many people in so many industries. And his approach to learn, to adapt, to integrate AI, I think that's incredibly practical advice.
It's actionable.
It is. Now, Adam's argument about the inevitability of technological progress, that's something we've seen time and time again throughout history.
Absolutely. It's a pattern.
And his more, I would say, blunt assessment of consumer behavior, that maybe ethics aren't always the driving force, that people often prioritize convenience.
It's cynical, but is there some truth to it?
I think there is. It doesn't mean we shouldn't be having these conversations about ethics, about responsible AI development, but it's a reminder that, change doesn't always happen in a neat and tidy way.
And that sometimes the market forces at play can be a lot more powerful than our ideals.
Exactly. And ultimately, I think the core message from both Rob and Adam is this. AI is here to stay, and adaptation is key. It's not about whether we like it or not. It's about figuring out how to navigate this new reality. And I think they've both offered some valuable insights into how we might do that.
Absolutely. They're not necessarily saying, hey, AI is great, no problems here.
No.
But they're offering a framework for thinking about it in a way that's less about fear and more about, okay, what are the practical steps we can take?
Exactly. So you've now heard from Rob and Adam, two guys who are deep in the AI world. They've shared their thoughts, their anxieties, their hopes. And now the question is, what do you do with that information?
Right, because, Rob encourages us to secure dominance over AI, and Adam stresses the importance of adapting to this new reality.
And those are, I think, powerful calls to action. So it's not just about understanding their perspective.
It's about figuring out your own.
Exactly. What steps are you going to take to understand and engage with AI in your own life, in your work? That's the real question we're left with.
It's food for thought, isn't it? And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, get those wheels turning.
So thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time,
keep thinking critically about the future.
And maybe start dabbling with some AI. You never know what you might discover.
See you next time.
See ya.